hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Romel, Private Investigator. I'm Romel, and my company is Access Diversified Investigations. I'm a New York State licensed private investigator, and today I'd like to talk to you about family court, in particular, visitation. Visitation, family court. A lot of emotions in family court on both sides of a petition. People seeking child support, being able to see their children, a very distressing thing for someone who doesn't have that or that ability for whatever the reasons might be. So, take a look. So in starting out, I like to mention at least one of the visitation cases that I had. Family court can be a very emotional place to be for either side of an argument, and certainly challenging in any number of ways. But in this visitation case, this was very interesting. What happened was there was an older man in his 50s and a younger girl in her 20s, younger woman I should say. They got together. Between the two of them, a child was conceived. The younger woman found herself interested in a younger man, and well, what happened was she left the older man. Now, in leaving the older man, she created an argument, called the police, made some accusations as to him physically assaulting her. She left, found her way into a shelter. The case against the older man was dismissed at a later date, and this is primarily because she never showed up in court. Now, as this matter moved on, the man wanted to see his child, and he had previously hired a process server to try to locate the shelter that the child was in with the mother. And the process server did find a P.O. box associated with the shelter, the name of the shelter, but could not make what's called personal service, which is something you primarily need in these types of matters, as opposed to something called substitute service, where the document, the summons and notice received from the court, is given to the party, what would be referred to as the respondent of the complaint that the mother or the father would be making against the other party. So, in this particular case, as I got involved, I was trying to track down the location of the center. Now, shelters are very private, and as far as trying to serve any type of process within a shelter, that's a very difficult thing to do because you don't normally get cooperation. The best that you'll get if you are in a shelter is a security officer or some other counselor will suggest to you you can wait for the party outside and serve summons there. Outside of that, cooperation is usually not very good. So in any event, I did find a shelter. I was looking to find this woman. I had a picture of her, so I knew what she looked like. I even spoke with the counselor at the shelter. And somehow, I stayed outside for a while, a few hours or so. They have a particular time that they're responsible to come back in. So I did a little surveillance to see if somehow I would see her. Unbeknownst to me, she had been transferred to another shelter. I did subsequently find out about that. There was a telephone number. I reached out to the shelter. Of course, I couldn't gain the access that I was looking to gain, nor the specific location. It was basically set up by way of a P.O. box. So what happens is, with the P.O. box, I did some more tracking, and I found out who the responsible attorneys, their office of counsel, I found out where that was, where it was physically located. And I spoke with the attorney that was handling the matter and explained to her that I would try to make service as a last resort with the counseling department for that particular shelter. And this was done. They accepted, no problem. Their responsibility basically was to pass that on to the young lady, and in turn she would respond to court to answer the summons and notice. Well, she didn't show up. Now, generally, the last bastion of hope that you have is the counseling division at a shelter. And as much as this seems to have failed, what I did, I took an extra step. And I actually drafted an affidavit of due diligence, explain the different courses of actions that I took to make contact and service to this particular young lady, and also made note. Now, she was seeking residency within the United States, and the information that I posed for the judge to review in my affidavit was the work that I exhausted, and also the fact that here's a woman that took advantage of the laws of the state of New York, the United States, in having the older man arrested. She found a need and an openness, a willingness to do that. However, when it came to the rights that he has as a father, she felt short. And basically my argument is you can't have it both ways. If you're going to follow the law has to be followed fully. I presented that in an affidavit to the judge, and a copy went to the attorney. Now, my personal feelings, I felt this should have been something done by the attorney. The judge did review it. The judge instructed the attorney to write a letter in response to what I had already written as a final with respect to the matter. I was alluding to having the police take action in this particular matter. And subsequently what happened was the young lady finally came into court. The matter was resolved. This man was able to get visitation with his child. So this is one of the cases. There have been many, but you need to know that this is something that could happen to anyone. People have their emotions. They fall in love. They fall out of love. This is life. This is life. So now you've had a chance to get a little look-see in terms of what private investigators do with respect to that type of thing. And I'd like to sign off by leaving you with a very special thought. Dream with purpose, act with intent. Subscribe, subscribe. Leave a comment. Have a good day.